special edition. Ever wonder what it takes to become a Navy SEAL? We'll take a close look and meet some of the members of the Navy's most elite outfit. And later we'll join world-renowned artist and pop culture icon Peter Max, a star in the American art scene for over 50 years. Each Peter Max original bears his unique signature, though it might be argued that his true signature is color. But first, we take a look into the sports memorabilia industry, and we'll talk with some of the stars who have helped make this marketplace a $5 billion global market, $1 billion of which is attributable to the U.S. alone.
The interest in collecting sports memorabilia in this country has evolved into big business. To illustrate just how fanatical today's memorabilia collectors are, at a recent exhibition at the Marriott Convention Center in Somerset, New Jersey, that featured some of the NFL's top stars, people lined up in the rain, many for hours, for the privilege of meeting and ultimately getting their favorite sports idol's autograph.
The sports memorabilia business in this country is a several billion-dollar business. Like this event you're at right now with the players like Dan Marino and Joe Montana, these are going on almost every weekend. A guy like Dan Marino will do 2-3 a year, Joe Montana, and then you just go right down the list. It's amazing.
I was talking to Joe Montana before. He told me on a good day he could sign easily 5,000 pieces.
Well, there's demand for it. Obviously, the guy's got to have the strength in his arm and the stamina and the willpower to want to do it. But yeah, guys like Dan Marino and John Elway, we just signed John Elway to a one-year exclusive for all of autographs. And John had not signed in several years. And then with the back-to-back Super Bowls, the demands become unbelievable. We can't get him to sign enough. We're backward 5,000 autographs.
Dan Marino was also just telling me that doing this for a day is tougher than playing a game in the NFL.
You know why? Because Dan's a great guy. Dan wants to be nice to everybody. And if we weren't trying to push people through for him, he would sit, take pictures, shake hands, and you know what? They got 2,000 tickets sold here today. It would take him 20 hours to do that at the pace he does it. And I'll tell you what, it takes a lot out of you.
As I ventured backstage to witness the autograph signing in progress, I was amazed with the speed, agility, and seriousness of this process. However, I really should not have been, considering the amount of money involved at these signings. We might be able to make a new event out of this, you know. The Superstars speed signing or something.
Oh, I already won. I win hands down.
Do you ever keep track of how many signatures you can do in one day?
No.
It's amazing, I bet, huh?
Too many. The most we've done is like 4,000 or 5,000.
That's a lot. How about tennis elbow from doing something like this?
No, not yet.
We were to cast to that 4,000 or 5,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was right. I was on my leg, on my arm. I was in a wheelchair.
One last question before you're doing. Did you notice outside there's like 4,000 or 5,000 people online? Does it ever cease to amaze you, the interest in football memorabilia?
No, it's amazing. But you know what? There are a lot of guys coming through here today, so I can understand why they want to be here. There's some great guys coming through.
The average price per autograph can range from $100 for a simple signing to, let's say, $500 to have Joe Montana autograph a portrait. The future value of these autographs, although uncertain, will most likely increase in value.
You know, Mickey Mantle signed autographs 10 years ago for $5 and $10. Now Mickey Mantle ball is several $100s if you're lucky. Dan Marino 5 years ago was charging $10, $15 an autograph at shows. Now it's $100 to $150. You know, I don't know where it's going to go. Nobody really does. But just like inflation and everything else and the contracts that are being signed by these players these days, it just keeps going up and up and up.
As for the players, most seemed a bit overwhelmed at the interest and enthusiasm in collecting current memorabilia. Are you ever amazed with the interest in memorabilia in this sport?
You know, I thought it had slowed down at some point, but you look back here and you see that it really hasn't. You know, people are really intrigued by the things that we wear and having our signature on it. It's really kind of amazing.
How many can you sign in one day? How much memorabilia can you do without getting tennis elbow?
Well,
you can sign while I'm talking.
You try not to go over 3 hours. You know, that gets to be a little much after that. That's when I really start getting tired, around 2.5 hours or so. And it's not so much the actual signing, but when you're trying to sign and also be, you know, polite to the public who's coming to see you, that it takes a lot out of you over that period of time.
Of course, I wasn't really up on memorabilia until I became a national football player. So once I got here, I got educated on all the sports stuff and how popular it really was, and it's been that way ever since.
This was amazing to see. I mean, everybody that's here, there's some pretty big names, and I've never been in a signing with this many big names. It almost puts you were signing next to Joe Montana. I'm surprised anybody's in my line. I'd be over there. I wanted to go over and get his autograph, but it's neat to be around these guys. You get to meet them and talk to them a little bit too.
Most fans and autograph seekers will do just about anything, including traveling long distances to get that once-in-a-lifetime autograph.
Tampa, Florida.
Oh, did you come all the way up here for this today?
I did. Came up to Tampa, Florida.
You drove up here for this
Flew up from Tampa, right.
Why?
See Dan Marino.
All right, big fan, huh?
Big fan of Dan, right.
What about Joe Montana?
I've already seen Joe. I met Joe at a previous show.
Was it a big thrill for you today?
Oh, it's great thrill. Dan Marino's super. All these NFL greats are super.
Now you came all, did you fly or drive?
I flew from Tampa.
And you live in Florida. Can you meet him in Florida?
He's not that accessible in Florida, believe it or not. And you got to come north to meet the big stars.
Right. They see you brought a lot of memorabilia. How much money did you spend today?
A couple $100.
Why do you think so many people are interested in the memorabilia of football today?
No, I think because it's something that everybody did as a kid. You played football, and I really think that you're a lot closer when you get a chance to get an autograph here. So everybody really gets enthused. I mean, I have a lot of stuff from the 49ers.
Big thrill for you?
Really it is, yeah, very much. Even going out to Candlestick Park, at least meeting these guys in person is really something.
How long did you wait online to get Joe's autograph?
Close to 2 hours.
Outside.
The whole thing?
Close to 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Was it worth it?
Yes, it's Mr. Montana.
And what does that mean?
It's Mr. Montana.
Let me ask you this. Where did you travel from where?
Naperville, New York.
And how long did it take you?
About 3 hours.
And the investment, it was more out of love for the sport, or you investing to make money in the future?
Love for the sport.
This is going on our mantle.
Love for the sport. This ain't going nowhere but my house.
Although the forms of collecting sports memorabilia may vary, the motivation for most is the same, and that is to own a piece of sports history. And for a lucky few, getting the opportunity to pose with their favorite sports legend is the ultimate touchdown. Meeting Mr. Montana today, was it a big thrill for you?
Yes, it was. Very exciting, yes.
Have you been a big fan of his for a long time?
Yeah, pretty long time, following him up here and there.
What does it mean to you to meet some of these big stars? What does it mean to you?
This is just a great experience to realize that these people are just people, that, there's a person behind the athlete. I think it's great.
And in most cases, have they been nice to you?
Yes. Very much. Yes. They're very nice, very sincere. They're just regular people.
The NFL and its stars have never been bigger, which has created a memorabilia industry in this country of mammoth proportions. For a special edition, I'm Mickey Burns.
Hi, you're watching Special Edition. I'm Alec Baldwin. We'll be right back after this message.
In the world of art, make no mistake about it, Peter Max is a star and has been since he dominated the art scene back in the 60s. We caught up with Peter recently at the unveiling of his portraits of two of politics' strongest players, James Carville and Mary Matalin. On this night, Peter Max was in top form, as his fans and admirers packed every nook and cranny of Manhattan's Dyenson Gallery to get a glimpse of the master, while at the same time browsing through some of Max's latest works.
He knows how to hook into the zeitgeist of the time. He knows exactly what's popular. He knows how to work with that, and he doesn't do it in an arrogant fashion. He does it in a very loving fashion.
His work also exemplifies how we as a culture always look for something new and exciting to really wet our whistles with.
He's an immigrant to this country, and I think he is just so patriotic. So he loves this country more than anybody that I've ever met or known in my life. And I think, whoever's in office or whoever our party leaders are, he supports completely.
And what could be more Americana than painting portraits of the hottest political couple in the country, outside of Bill and Hillary, of course, James Carville and Mary Matalin? What was your first impression when they unveiled this portrait?
At first it was like, I've never seen like myself in that, in other than like a photograph or something. So it's really different. And I think the immediate thing is, you know, hey, my grandchildren will have this. I mean, this is something, how you know, it's pretty, it's kind of personal.
Are you and Peter long-term friends?
Not long-term, but we've known each other for a little while.
Because it looks like he remembers you when you had a little more hair on your head.
Yeah, I think it worked for me. Well, at one time I did.
Why do you think Peter Max has been so popular for so many years?
I think he took a little hiatus for a while, and he came back, and he had something that stuck in people's mind, and he sort of came back, and people said, oh, yeah, I remember that guy. And I think the real reason he sticks is because he's different.
When I was a kid, a blue-collar kid on the south side of Chicago working in the steel mills, the first artist I ever was affected by, moved by, was Peter Max, and he was doing that kind of stuff. And now I'm a great art lover, much to my husband's chagrin because I buy it.
What do you think the key to his longevity has been? 4 decades, 5 decades, still going strong. What do you think the key is to that?
Well, as he was there, he is today. He's where you are.
Peter Max's impact on the 60s art scene has been compared to the Beatles' influence on music of the same era. Today, 4 decades later, he still has the zest to be creative every day. James Carville was chatting with me before, and he said that he could think of very few people in this country, especially in art or music, that have been as successful as you've been for so long. What do you think the key to your longevity has been?
I think it's just that I don't know, I love my craft, I work hard at it, I take it serious, you know. Every day I wake up, I draw right away. I draw before I go to sleep, I write down ideas, and this is what I like to do in my life. And so if that's what made it happen, that's the only truth I know. It's just like a guy who's a marathoner, and if he wins the marathon every year, he probably runs a lot. He practices. I remember coming out of art school, and they said, practice, practice. I didn't pay any attention to it, but the second I started drawing a lot, I realized that's what they meant.
For those artists that look up to you today out there and are struggling, what advice do you have for those artists?
I think the same thing. Draw a lot, paint a lot, meet people, you know, get your work seen. Today is not like it was in the years of Picasso, Matisse, and Gauguin. I always say if Matisse, Gauguin, or Picasso, if they lived today, they'd want to be on MTV. That's the culture, that's the soul of a painter, of an artist, to do things that are seen by the public.
Peter Max seems to leave a lasting impression on everyone who takes the time to appreciate his art, as well as his accomplishments in the art world.
Well, not to toot his own horn, but I think that if he wasn't an artist, he would be a master of marketing or a master businessman, because he knows, and I don't mean this in a bad way, he knows how to combine art and business. Not that they shouldn't be combined, but the idea of a starving artist is kind of an anachronism. And if you're a starving artist, you may paint great paintings, but who's gonna see them?
Peter is constantly creating something new, and it amazes me because he's like a little 4-year-old boy. All of a sudden he's into something new, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and look at this, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. It never ends.
So it would be safe to say that life is never boring with Peter Max?
Never.
A lot of artists that are contemporary artists are very dark. I mean, if you see their work, his is a little more uplifting. It's a little brighter. It kind of, it's a little nicer to see that every now and then.
What is the one thing do you think separates Peter Max from all the other artists of the 20th century?
I think his use of color.
I mean, art, I guess, has to reflect the world. I mean, I'm not an art historian or anything like that, but I mean, they are a product of the times, no less or no more, perhaps, than we are.
Right.
And when he first came out, he was, look, think about this. How many people get to be successful in the 60s and successful in the 90s?
Not many.
No.
Through his work, Peter Max has certainly left his mark on the 20th century. Fortunately, he has similar plans for the next millennium. For a special edition, I'm Mickey Burns.
Hi, I'm B.B. King. I'm the guy that plays the guitar called Lucille, and you're watching Special Edition. Stay tuned. They'll be right back in a few moments.
single most important trait that distinguishes the U.S. Navy SEALs from all other military forces is that SEALs are maritime special forces. In an impressive display of their prowess, they recently put on a show-stopping demonstration at the foot of the USS Intrepid in Manhattan. Those in attendance got a comprehensive overview of many of the SEALs' special skills.
I thought it was amazing, just what, I missed the beginning, but just what they were doing at the end. I mean, the determination that these young men have, the SEALs is so impressive. I was talking to one of the guys about how he carries, his weight and, when he's walking around, it's amazing. It's amazing, to carry 170 pounds through and doing what they do. It's just incredible.
What was your reaction after seeing this demonstration today?
I grew up in a very military family, and I was very impressed with all of the toys that they got to play with. It's amazing the power that they exhibit.
One of the highlights on this day was the extraction of 8 SEALs via a rope dangling from a helicopter. According to the chief of this platoon, SEAL of 17 years, Pat Farrell of Rahway, New Jersey, being in top shape is a given in his outfit. And the idea of doing that extraction is just to show how quick you can get in somewhere and how quick they can get you out.
Exactly. It's called a spy rig, special purpose insertion extraction. In case we can't get out of someplace and they want to get us out, they throw a rope down, we clip on, and bang, he pulls us out of there.
Do you have to be strong or in tremendous shape to do that, or is it just you have to know what you're doing?
A little both. I mean, you definitely have to be in shape, and we work out every day, and that's everyone from the captain on down to the lowest seaman. If you can't cut it, and at any time we have PT tests that if you can't pass them, then you got to find another job.
As thousands watched on, one couldn't help but wonder what special qualities were needed for these individuals to become part of this elite group. How difficult is it to become a Navy SEAL?
The initial training lasts about 8 months long. It's what we call basic underwater demolition SEAL training. It's in Coronado, California. The attrition rate for that is about 80%. You have about a 20% graduation rate. After you finish that program, you go to your SEAL team. When you get there, you go through about a year-long probationary period, do some advanced training, and then you go through a series of boards before you get your designator and you're actually a SEAL.
Okay. What are some of the key characteristics that you look for in soldiers who want to become SEALs? What are the characteristics you look for?
Probably the primary characteristic are people that can think on their feet and think for themselves. We're put in situations where sometimes you don't have somebody there that can make the decision for you, so you got to figure it out yourself. And that can be overseas. It can be when you have a language barrier, a geographical barrier. You just got to find out a way to make it happen.
How hard is it to become a Navy SEAL?
It's pretty hard. The process is pretty long too. Normally you start with a class of 150 people and you graduate probably 27 out of the original class. You graduate. It's pretty hard. It's a pretty demanding job and demanding training also.
And what is the key to making it to finally being a Navy SEAL? What's the key?
Proper preparation, body-wise and mental. You gotta have the right attitude, never quit, and you gotta get the job done no matter what.
Also on display was much of the high-tech equipment that, according to communications specialist Dan Liccardo, is vital towards the success of most SEAL operations. I heard a lot about the night vision. Can you pick that up and show us what it does, or explain to us what it does? We see it a lot in movies.
Absolutely. Basically what night vision does is it takes any luminescence out of the area. So you could be standing in a pitch black room and have your watch light up, and it'll be enough light to basically, under night vision, light you up like it's daylight. Basically, the goggles are used for when we want to do a nighttime assault or nighttime operations, when basically we go in with laser beams using night vision. Only we can see the lasers, so we can see who we're hitting and they can't see us.
Wow, unbelievable. How expensive is that a piece of equipment?
It's quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right. Not something we have around the house, huh?
Not too many people.
Today's demonstration took place next to the aircraft carrier USS Intrepid. Few carriers saw more action than the Intrepid did during World War II. On hand to support the SEALs were 3 World War II veterans who served on the Intrepid. What was it like, your memories and your experiences on the Intrepid during World War II?
Well, we were all on this ship in World War II. I was on here from 1943 to 1945. And it's quite an experience to see this ship here today. After all it went through in World War II, this was the most hit carrier in World War II that survived. We had 5 kamikazes hit this, 1 bomb and 1 torpedo. And here we are in New York City. It's amazing.
My memory was I had just turned 17 when I went aboard this ship in 1943, and when we got that torpedo, that was really something.
Yeah, I joined the Navy and wound up in Maui, and I went aboard 4 different carriers during the war. The Ranger, the Enterprise, the Essex, and the Intrepid. My biggest memory is one night we were standing on the flight deck and the whole horizon lit with flares. We were wondering what was going on. All of a sudden, the Jap started, they had the fleet silhouetted against the light. They started dropping bombs, and 1 torpedo went right by the ship. And for about a half hour, the North Carolina and Indianapolis were knocking down the Japanese planes. An experience.
Today's exhibition also reminded everyone of the important role the SEALs play in making the world a safer place in which to live.
Well, when we have people behind lines, people that are stuck somewhere else, it's a necessity, implicably, that they are there to be able to pull people out. You never know when a plane's going to go down. You never know when an embassy's going to be hurt. We have important people that help to change the world. Our country changes the world to make it a better place. Without these elite forces, we'd be left without the ability to have those people.
I think what I liked the most was that they really demonstrated their both the airborne and the waterborne operations, both insertion and extraction. You know, you saw a demonstration of 2 craft. One was a lot bigger than the other. They brought it right in here, turned it around on a dime, which you could never see in your life. And then they brought in this massive helicopter, stopped on a dime, lowered at probably like 1 mile an hour, just slowly lower, pick up the guys, extract them out. You know, and this is like a little, tiny dock area. I mean, if they could do it here, I felt they could do it anywhere.
Navy SEAL Howard Reed of Brooklyn reflected on what it means to him to be part of this special team.
It's one of those jobs that everyone pays all this money to do, a lot of the things that we do, and we actually get paid to do it, so that's how it works out.
And your best experiences so far as a Navy SEAL have been what?
Things like this, at the shows, actually showing people that we're out there taking care of the United States, and that makes me feel good, just knowing that people can see the things that we do, and we're here to protect the U.S.
The Navy SEALs are often depicted as an elite outfit on TV and in the movies. After watching today's inspired demonstration, we now know why they're considered the very best. For Special Edition, I'm Mickey Burns.